Hello everyone and welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room. My name is Chris and I work for NinjaTrader at our office in Denver, Colorado. Today we do a very special event for you today with Mercedes of Mental Strategies for Traders. I would like to mention that it is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodity futures, contracts, and foreign currency. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you, and this will depend on your specific circumstance and financial resources. It is possible to lose all the funds deposited with your broker, and you could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Also, please remember that these training webinars are not a solicitation nor recommendation, but simply educational in nature. This presentation is brought to you by NinjaTrader LLC, which is a technology company responsible for developing and supporting the NinjaTrader trading software. Brokerage-related questions should be directed to the NinjaTrader brokerage team. And if you do have questions about NinjaTrader brokerage, there is a direct phone number for our NinjaTrader brokerage office as well as the brokerage support email. With new tools added nearly every day, the NinjaTrader ecosystem is home to hundreds of apps and services. You can quickly and easily find the tools or services you're looking for with a simple keyword search. You'll also find information about upcoming webinar events as well as an on-demand video archive. And here is a link to the NinjaTrader ecosystem website. Also be sure to follow NinjaTrader on social media. So I'll include links to our Twitter page as well as Facebook. NinjaTrader is always free for advanced charting, strategy backtesting, market analytics, and trade simulation. So if you have not already done so, I would invite you to download NinjaTrader for free and request a free live market data trial at the link below. And if you are just getting started with NinjaTrader, I would invite you to check out our free daily product training webinars at the link that I'm posting into the room now. So we are very excited for today's unique event with Mercedes, where she will show you the evolution, or what evolution is and why this knowledge is critical for improving your trading results. Thanks again for your attendance today, and without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room, Mercedes. You can go ahead and take it away now, Mercedes.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to Ninja for organizing all these wonderful webinars, including mine. Okay, so first a little bit about me. I've traded since 2001, my own account, and I have coached since around 1995. I started my professional life out at Commerzbank, where I trained, but realized very soon that a career in banking really wasn't for me. And instead I pursued personal development in earnest, and I studied neuroscience, the wisdom traditions, and that really got me into coaching later on. I've also studied NLP, Huna and Zen, and I am certified in quite a number of different healing techniques as well. One thing which is actually very closely related to trading was doing seminars in Germany with military personnel, mainly officers. And incidentally, people from the military tend to make very good traders. So since 2006, I focused exclusively on coaching professional and independent traders. So let's look at what evolution has to do with your trading. Now, first of all, evolution affects everyone, whether you are consciously aware of it or not. It is impersonal. And without evolution, there basically would be no growth, and there certainly wouldn't be any moving from one level to the next level in your trading mastery. It's basically the vehicle that drives all growth. So understanding the nature of evolutionary growth correctly is quite profound, because most of it actually have got it back to front and therefore are doing the wrong things at the wrong time, which causes much mental upheaval which could be avoided. Typically, traders work on the end of the evolutionary cycle first, because they just don't know any better, and they do not understand that evolution actually in its grassroots is a subtle energy thing, and it is not material. So that is a big issue, and combining the two is the tricky part. Everybody has to manage really if they want to get to the next level of mastery. So there is, of course, the big illusion of the three-dimensional mind, and that is to do with the fact that the material mind basically lives in the past because it looks at past reference points, and therefore because it looks only at the material side of things, it only sees things approximately 80% down a cycle, which is, really when we are virtually at the end and a lot of bad habits have been instilled, and you all know what that feels like. And really, if you knew a different approach, you would be able to considerably shorten not only your learning curve, but also the transition periods where we grow, and also with this, by the way, it pertains to the markets, where the markets change. So all evolution works like this, without exception, whether it is your evolution as a trader, the development of a disease, or the evolution of the cosmos at large, the same laws apply. You actually have the most influence on your own creation as an individual, because that's really what we are talking about here, your growth as a person, because when you grow as a person, you grow as a trader, and that happens at the very beginning of a new cycle. It happens around that transition period, and that's what most people don't really understand. And it is precisely this lack of knowledge that stops you from looking where you should be looking. Your untrained mind only becomes aware of the things it cannot readily see by the time it's too late. And that's, as I've already said, it's at the end of the cycle, and just as we move into a new cycle. Well, growing pains, these transition periods, are hated by the mind, and it's also the place when most traders tend to give up. And we all know that the failure rate in trading is incredibly high. And it is my conviction that ultimately it's not to do with your trading system. It's to do with the fact that people do not understand that the mental thing comes first, and the mental thing, understanding how your brain works, how you create your reality, even when you can't see it yet, that is key. So, of course, most of the money is lost during transition periods. And it's the time also when we lose confidence, because we don't know where to go, don't know what to do next. And the burden on your emotional trading account usually weighs way heavier, actually, than the material side, your actual physical trading account, because that, with the right techniques, can be recovered actually surprisingly quickly. So really what we are saying here is how you handle evolution dictates your success as a trader. And it is ultimately not your trading system that brings lasting success, but how you handle yourself. And in order to develop and become a master trader, not for a few weeks or a few months, but for life, you have to, absolutely have to evolve as a person first and foremost. Really, it is actually no secret that most traders cannot handle transition phases, because they just don't know how to handle them. So transition phases actually are the most critical part of your personal evolution. And it really behoves you to learn the skills to deal with them correctly. Let's look at a few key facts of what evolution is all about. Well, first of all, as it is in your trading, so it is in your life. And there is that principle of transition. What you do in one area of your life, you will do in other areas of your life. Everything is fractals of something else. So a continuous evolution actually is an integral part of life, because it happens all the time. It's not something that happens once in a while and then everything is quiet and fine and dandy. It happens all the time in larger or slightly smaller degrees. And I've already said it's both personal and impersonal because it happens at all levels. It happens in the cosmos as well as to you and, of course, in the markets all the time. Evolutionary process always follows the same laws, and you must know these laws and really know them well and internalize them, integrate them, and that gives you the vehicle to really manage actually ultimately your own evolutionary growth. Now evolution, well, basically, the transitional cycles of evolutions, view them as stepping stones. They are not negative. They are just stepping stones. And one thing, just like the markets, evolution, of course, never occurs in a straight line. It is not a predictable process where you can put a exact timing on it. And that is a problem for the linear mind. We all are used to thinking just in terms of our linear reality where everything is fixed and absolute. Well, evolution doesn't work like this. And that is the problem why most traders still focus predominantly on their trading system. I'm not saying that it isn't important. It is, but you have to have both. You have to have an understanding of how you have to use your entire brain, and that means going beyond the linear mind and moving into the more subtle energy realm of creation. This misperception and this lopsidedness, shall we say, which causes, by the way, brain incoherence, if you're using the linear mind all the time, it creates a disconnect from yourself, a disconnect from the markets, and it sends off incoherent signals in the brain, which then translate ultimately to dysfunctional trading behaviors. All dysfunctional trading behaviors are ultimately a consequence of chronic brain incoherence. So evolutionary growth is really always about developing emotional maturity. And that is never ever a linear process because for one reason, well, obviously you are not a trading machine, you are a human being. And in order to grow, you have to step into the unknown. The linear mind, of course, sees transition as chaos. It dislikes it purely and simply because it has no reference points, because what's happening during transition, it is literally the dismantling of one timeline and the introduction of a new timeline. Old reference points by which you used to operate, by which you used to live, think and feel, and how your emotions would work, begin to fall away. They are not as relevant anymore. They don't work as they used to work. And that causes great inner conflict, and the linear mind suddenly is totally lost, doesn't know what to do. So if you can understand that basically transition periods really are the vehicle and nothing else but the ending of an old cycle, which is then being replaced by a new one, you are making much progress, and you're making these transition periods much easier on yourself. It's just a process. There is nothing wrong with you for not knowing where the future is. There is nothing wrong with you when you realize that certain things don't work as they used to work anymore. In fact, really, you should welcome this kind of awareness. So fortunately, of course, we can ease the transition period and shorten them considerably by learning tools and techniques that help us through them. Now, of course, resistance is hardwired into our brain. And unfortunately, it has to be said that resistance is effectively the thief of evolution, because resistance is that part of your brain that wants you to go back to the old, tried and tested at a time when actually you have to do exactly the opposite. You have to expand and grow and move forward and move literally beyond yourself, move out of the known, move beyond the conventional, and free yourself to have a new experience in life and in your trading. Without it, you cannot really make meaningful progress. Now, conventional trading coaching really doesn't help you with this, because it's basically rooted in mechanical strategies, and what we are talking about here is anything but mechanical, because moving into a new cycle always means that you have to open up a visionary process, and that cannot ever be grasped by the intellect alone. So really you must move beyond the intellectual understanding into a place where your intellect can merge with your innate powers of creation. And by the way, you all have them. Everybody on this call has got them, whether you are aware of it or not, whether you think the linear way is the way to be or not, doesn't come into it. It's just a question of activating a new modality within you and literally adding to your toolbox. And when you have both the intellect and your innate visionary powers of creation working for you in your trading, well, really, the world is your oyster. Let's look at time for a moment. Time, of course, is that thing that stops evolution happening all at once. It gives us the opportunity to have individual experiences. Unfortunately, it also means that we tend to put things into boxes, because the linear mind stuffs everything in a box, closes the box and opens the box when it feels it needs to look inside the box. Well, that's not how life really works. These are just learned programs which are deeply embedded into us, and they are not helping us to move smoothly and flow with the evolutionary process. It's always down to the same old thing. In the untrained mind, the linear mind dominates, because that's how we have been trained. That's how we have been conditioned for many, many generations, well, hundreds, possibly thousands of years. So the linear mind, of course, dislikes new things because it doesn't understand them. The linear mind is not designed to create. It is there to do certain processes. It's great to execute your trades quickly. It's a mechanical tool. But in order to become more and better and find new ways of doing things, you have got to go beyond the linear mind. So really what we are saying here is, because the linear mind lives in the past, and that is not evolution. That's just repeating the same old again and again and over and over and over and over again. Evolution is the door that gives you the opportunity, if you allow yourself to step through it, you step into the unknown. You are opening yourself to experiencing things beyond the linear mind. You go into that non-linear subtle energy part where there are no limitations, where the unseen can be seen. And if you hear a noise in the background, my dog is sleeping here. She partakes in everything here. Sorry about that. Okay, so now you have to become comfortable with this concept, and it's difficulty for many traders. They hate the unknown, so we go to great lengths finding trading systems that tell us where price is going. Well, at the end of the day, if you could become comfortable with the concept that true growth, true evolution, true progress always comes out of the unknown, you would become more comfortable with it. And that means tapping into the subtle energy. As we've said, evolution is an energetic process, and really chaos is the mechanism that makes you move from a lower energy level, where lower types of information is available to you, to a higher energy level, a higher frequency, where higher information and more information is available to you. In other words, what we are talking about here is you are actually receiving an energetic upgrade to both your mind and to your body, if you allow it. It's a matter of choice. Resistance, we've said, is created by the linear mind, and the default reactions which resistance entice in the unaware mind are things like confusion, fear, anger, overtrading, hesitation to pull the trigger, moving stops. Well, you know the form, you know how all this works. We've all been there. We have all done it, and many times, no doubt, yours truly included. Really, what we are saying, though, is this. These reactions, rather than going around saying, oh my God, I'm a bad trader and what have you, they are a sign that you are ready to move on to the next step on the evolutionary ladder. And so we have to get beyond the resistance and beyond the, shall we say, the lies, or the old BS, stands for belief systems, the mind tells you. It's rubbish. When the mind tells you you're a bad trader, that's an old program. It's utterly meaningless, and you might as well ignore it. So really, if you don't get anything from this webinar today, but understanding that these uncomfortable periods are actually a call to a new impulse of growth to the next level, you will have taken a lot from this webinar, and I'm aware that I'm packing a lot of stuff into a very short time here. So please go back and listen to this webinar again. So that's just an aside. Right. So what we are really talking about here is that we need to align with the chaos and manage it. And alignment is a form of management, of course. The vehicle to that is always deeper self-knowledge, because deeper self-knowledge, of course, is the precursor for all growth. The moment you can go deeper, the moment you realize something, in that moment you have freed yourself from the immersion into an old program, which in all likelihood you have probably, unbeknown to your conscious mind, been running all your life. So if you understand that chaos is just the dismantling of old structures and is making room for new ones, you would also feel less anxiety. And I'm sure that is, quite a topic for many of you. Used to be a huge one for me as well, trading from fear rather than from opportunity. So just the process of understanding, which of course is only a first step, but it will help you to perhaps be a little bit analytical and intellectualize the anxiety, and that in itself can help you to move beyond it. So and of course, really you can learn techniques. Meditation is one that brings your brain, which has learned to operate in chronic brain incoherence, back into coherence. In fact, it is my most favorite tool. So of course, brain coherence is an energetic thing, and it has nothing to do with the linear mind. So what I'm saying to you here is this: I cannot tell you what brain coherence feels like. In all likelihood, the majority of you, unless you have meditated for a long time, you won't know what it's like. You won't know what the feeling is like. However, what I can do, I can show you how to experience it. And that is a wonderful thing. I do it with all my private coaching clients and in my group work, and we do it in live trading, so that you can learn to take what you learn into practical application, which is of course the next step once you've had the initial learning and the initial experience. And that actually is huge, taking this thing into a place where you can actually use it in your life, in your trading life. So the right kind of meditation, of course, raises your energy frequency. And as I've said before, it will open you up to new fields of information, new types of information. And that eases transition periods because it bypasses the critical analytical mind. And also at some point, it will get you beyond the dualistic mind. It's not a one-day wonder, but that is the overarching goal. That's, obviously what we are going for here. The good thing is, when you learn what brain coherence feels like, you will want to repeat it because it just feels so damn good. And the byproduct is, what's going to happen? You will see the charts with very new eyes. And if you could move beyond the linear mind and just use it for what it's designed for, and then see the charts in a coherent brain function, you will see so much more on the charts. I assure you of this. I practice it with clients all the time. And this, by the way, is such a wonderful tool. Brain coherence really is the precursor to seeing the charts in a very, very different way. And when you are in harmony, as I said, when you go there, you feel good. There's no other way of putting it. And when you feel good, you trade better. When you are in harmony, you see more things because you are out of fight and flight. You are out of the feeling that you need to look over your back all the time. And it's a very, very powerful technique, and it opens up a tremendous calm and clarity of vision. So really, it's all about energetic alignment. That's the Holy Grail. And it's not really about adding more indicators, because when you do that, the mind can only see 5 things at the same time. Now, as most of you are in some state of mental arousal when trading, that number 5 goes down to 1 or 2. So you have got built into that way of operating already making trading mistakes which could be avoided. Of course, the trading charts also reflect the nature of evolution. As above, so below. We've said this before. So when you can understand that really what goes on inside you, and you become aware how you function and how the way you create your reality is actually not a linear process, and you integrate this understanding, you then will be able to translate this experience onto your charts. It becomes a very normal thing after a while. You'll see things in a totally different way, and whatever trading strategy you use, it really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what time frame you use. When you can function like this and it becomes automatic and natural, your trading will become a lot more robust, because what we are talking here about, it works in all time frames and in all markets. Now, basically, this is also what you will learn as a starter thing in my Master Your Trading Mind online course, for which we have a special offer here for NinjaTrader tonight. Okay, meditation is the gate to seeing things how they really are. And that is what I practice with the members in my Transformational Guided Meditation Academy for Traders. You can see details of that on my website, Mental Strategies for Traders. So meditation is really the thing. I believe it should be on everybody's daily trading plan. It's not about sitting there for hours. It's having a regular practice. And when you do this, you go beyond your limitations and you go beyond the flawed perceptions of the conditioned mind. A totally different reality opens up. And over time, as I said, you will begin to see the world how it is. You will see the charts for what they are, and you won't add things or delete things or compare things, because those are the only 3 things the linear mind can do. It adds, it compares, and it deletes. And that's how it creates your reality from which you trade every day. Now, the beauty also is when you are in permanent brain coherence, at some point you realize actually you are boss. You have got choice. You create it all, whatever it is, good, bad, and indifferent. And that's incredibly powerful. You also realize that the universe actually has your back. And that is also incredibly powerful, because when you realize this, you get out of the fight and flight mode. You will become more comfortable and more trusting in yourself. And ultimately, that's really what we are talking about. Learning to trust yourself as the creator of everything. It's not your trading system. A bad trader will lose money with the most fantastic trading system, whilst a good trader who understands himself or herself and knows what creation is all about, they will make money with a bad trading system, make no mistake. The invitation is this here, guys: move beyond ignorance and move into your untapped potential, which resides beyond the linear mind and beyond ignorance. And when I'm talking about ignorance, I am not talking about that you haven't read enough books, haven't attended enough webinars, and haven't bought enough trading systems, and not read enough about financial history. I'm talking about the ignorance of how you as a human being works in the universe. That's what we are talking about here. So ultimately the universe is set up to support you, and it is not against you. That is a flawed perception, to think that the world is hostile and is against you. So you know, there is immense potential if you can move beyond the constraints of three-dimensional experience. Now, really, all of my work is designed to bring you into harmony, because that is really ultimately what it's all about. You haven't come here to learn to trade, work your butt off and then die. That's not what it's all about. You have come here to experience the essence of you, and you are a creator. You are constantly, in every moment of your day, whether you trade, whether the moment you get out of bed, even when you sleep, when you dream, you are creating all the time. Now, I'm sure you will agree with me that it makes sense if you could have techniques that keep you in harmony, you'd feel better, your trading would improve, and you would have more compassion for yourself and the world around you. You'd have more clarity and foresight, because you suddenly stop wasting energy on anger, on fear, on frustration, on impatience, and all those things that set you up for dysfunctional trading behaviors. Now, I'm sure you don't like me to say this, but all said and done, what you see on your charts is how you see yourself. And that is another reason why you want to be in harmony. You want to go to that trading platform of yours in a harmonious state, in a state where you feel on top of the world, where you feel you can do it, whatever is happening, where you feel, okay, I don't like this market today, I'm just going to walk away. You know, there'll be more in an hour's time or tomorrow, and feel no emotion. That's really what we are talking about. That is what harmony is all about. And your trading ultimately is always, always a reflection of your inner world. So take off the blinkers, free yourself from shackles of outdated conditioning. It is a choice. And you are the one, you are the only one who can make this choice. Nobody can make it for you. Any coach can only do one thing for you, and that is open the door. Ultimately, you are the one. You have to walk through that door. You have to do the work, and that work is mental. It is the inner work. And then the outer work, it'll happen pretty much automatically by itself. And you will be surprised, actually, how easy it is. But the first thing is you have to make that decision that you are going to go beyond yourself and open up new horizons and try something new, try a different approach, and not 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, because the mind needs to be trained. It's a bit like a dog. After a while, if you teach the mind to do certain things over and over again, it'll get it. Boom. And there it is. If you don't do it, if you only look at something once, within hours, certainly within a day, you will have forgotten that new concept, no matter how excited you may have felt in the moment. And that is incidentally why I encourage you to watch this webinar again. Please, please, if what I'm saying here sort of rings a few bells, gets you interested and motivated, and you haven't got it all, go back and watch this webinar again. You'll get so much more out of it. Right. So, and now we come to the special offer, which is the Master Your Trading Mind Trading Psychology course, self-directed, and comes with a one-on-one coaching session with me. Comes in 3 parts. The first part is about learning about, how evolutionary, how the universe works. The written part is about approximately 60 pages. There is also a very important thing, which is a very detailed self-assessment questionnaire, which helps you to understand where you are, helps you identify dysfunctional trading behaviors, and gives you clues of where you really want to go, perhaps beyond where you think with your linear mind you should be going. And then there is also a technique I teach all my coaching clients, how to think correctly so that you attract trading success. It's retraining your mind. Then there are 15 audios. They are mainly 15 minutes long, some are 25 minutes long, and some of them are designed to be used with your trading. So here is a list. You can read that for yourself. Visualizing the perfect trade. There is one meditation in this as well, a brain harmonization meditation, and then there is an exercise visualizing the perfect trade. Very good. Discipline, spirituality, trading confidence, very, very important. Well, I mean, they all are, really. So, right, okay, we've said comes with, a one-on-one coaching session, and you'll get a 10% off. And if enough people subscribe, what I will do for this group, I will do in about, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, something like that. I'll do a group coaching session as a bonus. So, right, that brings us to the end of the official webinar, and I look at the questions here now. So let's just see. We go here. Can I go to the beginning of the questions? All right, just bear with me a moment. So right, so what is happening here? So what are the phases? What phases are we talking about? Are we talking about the evolutionary phases? The phases, basically, I try to explain it. When you come to the end of a cycle, you begin to feel discomfort, because what is happening, you are coming out of the immersion. You are moving into a place where you suddenly realize things you had not noticed before. And the typical reaction of the linear mind is to tell you, oh, no, that's not true. That's rubbish. So that's how that resistance phase then kicks in, and you go back to the old tried and tested, because the linear mind says, well, that worked before. It's got to work, got to work. So unless you become aware of this and are willing to go, what I call going beyond yourself, you can be stuck in that transition period for a very, very long time, years, as a matter of fact, sort of longer than you can remain in funds for your trading account. So that's why it is so important to understand how it works and work with it. So when you work with it, and that is the next phase, when you understand, right, okay, it's the letting go of an old phase and the beginning of a new one, where just the old models are disintegrating and new ways of thinking, even though they are not quite clear yet, are beginning to open up. When you can understand that, then you can begin to work with it, because in that moment of awareness, you are pulling yourself out of resistance. Literally, you are opening up to trying something new. And that is the point where you probably start reading a new book, or you might get a new course, and because you begin to realize that what you once cherished so much, okay, it's not so great anymore. So I hope I explained that. So, right, what do we got here? So well, okay. Profits, really, as I said, they are a thing. If you are in harmony, then you will find it easier to keep the money in your trading account. Why? Because the compulsive behavior, which is always fear-driven, whether it's anxiety, whether it is fear, whether it is frustration, these are all a form of fear, and you think that you are not in control. But that's the thing. When actually you are in control, only not in the way that you think. You are not in control of the markets. The markets is the bigger collective consciousness. However, that said, you are in control of your inner state. So that is the one thing you have to really aware of, and that's why I said it's so empowering when you realize that you are the creator of your reality. So if you become aware of how you do anger, frustration, hesitation, and all those emotions, and you see them kicking in, and you become aware that they are just a default reaction, which ultimately really don't pertain to anything, I mean, you have made a huge step in the right direction. And as I said, meditation is the tool I use that helps you to get to this point. Very, very, very important. We've got to calm down the monkey mind. The intellectual understanding is the beginning. It's always the first step. That's where we start. But then we need to take it into the experience. And once we have the experience, we get this in meditation, then we need to take this experience into real life, because that's what it's ultimately about. We don't want to sit on the cushion meditating all day. No, we want to take that coherent, harmonious mental state into our trading. And that's where the spiritual rubber hits the proverbial trading road. And that's when true mastery can evolve, and you begin to become, as you master your inner states and regulate your emotions better, you hold on to your profits longer, and it builds on itself. It's a lasting thing. Granted, it's not a one-day wonder, but if you stay with the right processes, you will get there faster than with jumping from trading system to trading system or whatever else you may be doing. It'll become a change at DNA level, and anything that happens at DNA lasts. It's forever. And or at least for all we know, it is forever. So what we are talking about here are tools. They don't help you feel good for a week or 2 weeks or a month, or improve your trading for a week or a month or 2 months, like an optimized trading system might do. They are robust. These tools will transform you, and in that sense, they are truly transformational. And this is really, stuff what I want for all of you, that you get to that point where you can see the importance of all that. Yes, Daniel, I mean, being in transition for many years, and you and I both, and I had to learn along the way, and this is how I came over the years to develop these programs I offer. And what can I say to you? Well, I mean, I know they work because I have done it for many people, but I also have to say it's not a one-day wonder, but instead of being there for years, you will do it. You will see progress within. Certainly, you feel a difference in your energetic state very, very quickly. And within 6 months, you will notice a measurable change in your emotional regulation. And you will, probably over 12 months, you will see that you are trading in a very, very different way. Very different way. So I think we are at the end. Have I missed anything else here? probably, what are the phases here? Yes. Right, so I think we are also on time here. Or do we have a little bit longer? No, I think that's it. So that brings us to the end of the webinar.
So a special thank you to Mercedes of Mental Strategies for Traders for a great presentation today. Everyone in attendance here will receive an on-demand recording of today's event via email, so be sure to keep an eye on your inbox for that email coming in. NinjaTrader ecosystem is pleased to sponsor these weekly vendor events as a value-adding service for our clients. If you find value in these events, we hope you will attend them on a regular basis, and you can find a schedule of upcoming webinar events as well as an archive of previous events at the link that I'm posting into the room now. We would like to remind you that the information in this presentation was that of Mental Strategies for Traders and is not that of NinjaTrader. All information was for educational purposes and should not be construed as trading advice. Again, we appreciate all of you for the time that you've spent with us today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we hope to see you in future webinars. Happy trading from all of us here at the NinjaTrader ecosystem.